Hey guys, welcome to the progress report. As you can see, Dee Sage couldn't join us tonight, but we have a special episode planned for you guys tonight. Something a little different, a little political. I have Trisha Phelan joining me.
Hi guys.
So we're just we're filling in, and we're gonna get progressive with you
D
tonight.
will be here later.
Dee will be here later. He's gonna join us on Zoom.
If you know D, he's running a little late.
Always running a little late, but it's okay. We love
Sorry,
him.
D, we love you.
And tonight's episode is going to be brought to you by a few of our sponsors. Ray Sarico, whoa, wow, I said that wrong, but it's okay. Ray Sarico, you guys have met him before on our other shows, and his business domain properties, in K&Z Painting as well. And make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and even Facebook Live. When we do our videos on Facebook Live, make sure you check it all out, and you'll stay up to date with us. So me and Trish have a few things to talk to you guys about today. There was a few things that stood out to us, a few topics that even I'm catching up on.
How can you pick right now? There's always something.
It's a lot going on.
if you follow politics or you follow the news, there's always a million topics going on.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm catching up on some things that just happened today that are just unfortunate.
It's always Did you see what happened now? Did you see what he's doing now?
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about one of the things that you thought that was exceptionally
well? So today, right? There's this big ongoing thing with Trump. I didn't call them losers. I didn't call them suckers. Talking about the military, and now they come out today, and he had come out, and this is just he never knows when to shut up, and I think he just lies and lies and lies to the point where he believes.
So many times that he's just not being honest.
Today, I watched the video, and then, of course, fact-checked his last speech, and there was, something like 11, blatant lies. Where he says he didn't say something, and then he did.
Right.
So he says, I was so torn up that I couldn't go to that cemetery in France that I went back and I called my wife, and I told her how upset I was. However... come to fact check him, his wife was on that trip with him, so I don't know how he would have gone back to call her to tell her how upset he was.
He can time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah, Dio says the him who should not be named. Yeah, that's why. He'll go back and get you for it. Don't say
really
too much.
Voldemort?
At this point, sure, let's go with that. That makes a little bit more sense than actual reality.
But, speaking of lies, the new statistics, new report out saying that 93% of the Black Lives Matter protests have not been violent or destructive.
Yeah.
They've been peaceful.
Yeah, I talked about this actually on my podcast. I run an Instagram, and I was just doing some research about it, just out of the blue, and it popped up that 93% of most of the protests, justice protests, have been peaceful. And that actually stands out so much to me to see that people of color and, our allies can get together for a cause and stick to a nonviolent approach for these kinds of things.
But what it also shows is the exorbitant coverage by not only the media, but also just by government officials and the president himself, and the amount of tension that has been paid.
And they try to demonize
the small, 7% of protests that have actually become destructive. And we were talking some statistics earlier about how 9% of the Black Lives Matter protests were met with police force, while 5% of every other type of civil unrest and protest has only been met with police force. Which just goes to show that why would it even be that much percentage?
That's the problem.
When you have 93% of them that are not violent.
That means 1 in 10... One in 10 were used violent measures for each of those protests, and then, like they said, 3% of that was other civil unrest protests that should have gotten more attention, but somehow it was redirected at the peaceful protests.
And then they were saying, they looked at some statistics in Portland, and when something like 83% of the protests there had been peaceful until federal troops were brought in to handle the protesters who had been peaceful, and they tear gassed them, and they brought in rubber bullets, and they used violent measures, and now all of a sudden you have 43% of the protests are becoming riots. They're becoming vandalism. They're becoming fires. They're becoming, they're becoming more destructive, and then that becomes the focus, and that's, I think, the goal. I don't know that.
Absolutely.
These officers, these soldiers are being sent in here because they actually are trying to diffuse the situation. Their intention is to escalate the situation to make BLM look bad.
So that it loses
their credibility.
Validity. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I love that. And so with that being said, that there also, are still police shootings happening. And one of the biggest ones right now is Jacob Blake's. 29-year-old man. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this, but he's one of the latest victims of a police shooting, and he woke up recently. That's the big T right there. He's just like, whoa, okay, hey. Unfortunately, he woke up in pain, immense pain.
24 hours.
A quote from him was saying 24 hours of pain, which doctors actually said might leave him paralyzed from the waist down. This man, a father of 6 in Milwaukee, was shot 7 times in the back. Which that's the problem I have with the whole thing. He was shot 7 times in the back when he was walking away from an officer to open Officer Rustin, something of the sorts. This name that I do not want to remember.
I would say Shesky is probably correct.
Right?
Rustin,
I'm like,
Shesky.
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy. The one who shot Jacob Blake's. Walking away to open up his car door, and the whole thing was caught on video. So again, thanks to modern technology, we have been able to capture these moments that, would have gone unseen before. But it's just really maddening to think that even in the midst of all this that we're doing to present equality and the things that we should,
even with all the protests and all of the change that has happened there, I mean, a lot of it's just performative. Where is the real true legislative change? Because black people are still being shot every single day. Every single day there's something on the news. Every day. And it's just like, I mean, I know you know.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
But we were just talking, I was just having this conversation the other day, like, where it's like, it's so bad when you're like, oh my God, what was that one's name? You know what I mean? Because there's been so many at this point that you can't even, the human brain can't remember that entire list.
A friend of mine and I were just talking, like how we're doing tonight, and I think it was 10 people now, 10 different people. It started with George Floyd.
Since George Floyd.
Since George Floyd.
I think it's probably more than that.
There's been something like that. Probably. The number that she came up with, I was surprised. I was like, okay.
I would not be surprised.
I kind of lost track.
When you lose track, God.
Sad.
That's a pandemic.
Really? I saw, actually, no, I really saw a lot of people saying that the pandemic is the racial pandemic.
Well, it's an epidemic. It's a public health crisis. Racism in the United States is a public health crisis.
I couldn't have said it better myself. On other things that that stood out to us were in a mass of black girls in Massachusetts facing nearly 4 times more discipline than white girls in schooling. And that to me stands out a lot as well, because it brings up another point where in schooling, do we think that it's our fault, so to speak? I don't know how they would put it, as like a teacher's standpoint. Are they looking at it from somewhere where this is just something that they know to be true? Or are they looking at it as preventative measures, or, trying to think of it from a teacher's standpoint, when I heard of this. And I'm not quite sure where to go with it.
So I think, and I didn't read the full report. I will admit I did raise it, but my understanding was that it was all else being equal, that young black girls were being either more severely punished or just disciplined more often than their white peers.
Yeah.
So, for equal actions, they were not getting equal responses from their administrators,
Yeah.
whoever those people will be, their teachers or their deans or their principals or whoever they're interacting with, their coaches. You know, and I would not be surprised if that wasn't only Massachusetts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They focused the study on just the one area, but it shows, you know, that this could be something that is overlooked in many other areas.
And how does that go on to influence those kids' lives? You know,
right?
what I mean?
And they said something about a school to jail pipeline situation.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's the thing. I'm like that boggled my brain. I was just like, so okay, as a teacher, how do you not see this correlation?
Like, if you don't go to a school system, I mean, and I don't even know if there are any out there where there aren't any racist teachers. You know what I mean?
In a perfect world, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You know, and you are being fed or led to believe certain information about yourself. At what point does that not start to influence your psyche and create that, like, well, this is the life I'm meant to live type mentality? You know, it's
and
not,
then do we hold?
It's not fair.
Do we hold them accountable for the child's action after being told this, or do we hold the child responsible for this action?
No, the kid's being held responsible for actions that sometimes they're even beyond their control. You know?
And like you said, when you're being told something for so long, you know, it's hard to not believe.
I mean, there was just that the woman who spoke at the Republican National Convention. I don't remember her name now, but she has an adopted
I love how
biracial son or black son. She has a black son. I don't know if I think he's biracial.
Okay.
And she said something like, "The police would be right to stop him because he's statistically more likely to commit a crime than my other two sons." About her own kid.
Coming from a mother.
Coming from his adopted mother, but yes, his mother, his mother.
Okay. Wow, I heard that.
So this kid is going to grow up
being
told all of these things
and
about
being
himself
told,
his whole life.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a whole
other
thing. But
if he ends up down the wrong path, who are they going to blame? It's not going to be her fault. He was statistically more inclined to do that. You know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah.
It's gaslighting.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother thing that we could absolutely get into. But right now, we're gonna not open that can of worms. We're gonna take a quick commercial. So we'll be right back, guys.
My partner is watching us on the actual.
Oh, love that. Hey guys, welcome back.
Oh, we're live. Sorry.
Perks of being live. Perks of being live. Welcome back to the Progress Report. So we have a panel here with us tonight to talk to you about some of the elections and things that are going on around us. We aren't going to announce any of the results tonight, unfortunately, because we are still counting our mail-in ballots.
No, we are not political analysts.
Yeah, no, we are not counting them. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't if you paid me, but they are counting them. So we're just gonna introduce who we have with us here. You wanna take that off?
So we have Anthony Santori. Anthony previously ran for city council in Ward 1.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we're just going to kind of pick your brain a little bit on what these races look like to you. And then
we have Abby.
Dee's here.
We have Dee Sage, everyone. He's a guest today on his own show, but we still love him.
Hi everyone.
Dee.
What? You still love me? I love you guys too. You guys are like absolutely amazing. Thank you for stepping in tonight. It's been a very, very long day. I'm exhausted, but
I'm so sure.
I got you.
Okay, we're glad to have you on your own show. And then we have Abby Brennan, former candidate from Texas. Hi, Abby.
Oh, we
lost Abby. Abby's having some technical difficulties.
Abby might be back.
She's
no, you got me. Hi.
There she goes.
Sorry, I switched computers now, so hi.
Okay. Is that working better for you?
This is working so much better. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner.
Oh, right. We were just introducing you to everyone.
Welcome back.
Hi, everybody.
And so yeah, we're just gonna get down to and talk and pick their brains a little bit. The nitty gritty. Yeah. I've always disliked that statement.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. It just
I don't know the origins of it. It could have bad origins.
Seems strange to me. Just nitty gritty. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Okay. So you want to
I probably wouldn't use that term. I don't know.
Oh.
Right? Is it a bad term?
Is it?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems like something nitty gritty. Sounds like
that's what I just said. I was like, I don't know the origins, but maybe it's
Meh.
Anyway. Dee, you are on the campaign trail right now with Tiara Mack.
Yes, I am. I am.
How's that looking?
So in 2018, Harold Metz won the Democratic primary by more than double of his previous opponent. You think Tiara has what it takes to beat him?
I mean, if I sit here and think about that question, to be honest with you, before I can even answer the Tiara Mack, because that's kind of a two-part. That's kind of a two-part because when you look at so when you look at that race as well, it was a 3-person race because also Carlos Cedillo was also in that race. If we take those numbers, that's about that's a little less than 40, about 47%. And if you look at Hernandez, also in 2016, he won. He had 47%. Lost with 47% of the vote. The real question, the real issue is in District 6, nobody has really campaigned against Harold Metz.
Right.
Working with Tiara Mack, working with this staff, Tiara Mack has canvassed and blanketed the entire district and have
She
gotten
has been
people involved.
working very hard. That
Yeah.
is very
Very
clear.
hard. So if you ask the question if she can win, I think that looking at the numbers at both 2016 and 2018, and then looking at how hard she has campaigned, I believe that Tiara Mack can win this election. We had good response at the polls. And also they had people out there at every single polling location, turning voters, also making sure that people got, if they didn't have their ID, they got their provisional ballot, mail-in ballots got to City Hall. I think that Tiara Mack can win this district.
And I agree with your passion for sure. Like I just recently met Tiara on the progress report actually, and we had a really good conversation. And in the few 10 minutes that we spoke with her, she convinced me. I
watched the episode.
And so here for what she does and the way that she leads, the progressive way that she leads.
Oh, absolutely.
Shook me.
At the end of the day, Harold Metz is the most conservative state senator that we have. Let's be real. He voted against the conversion therapy ban. He voted against that. He wanted to keep the ban. Well, no, sorry. He wanted to keep conversion therapy, and he wanted it here in Rhode Island. I'm sorry, I'm in a car. I'm still at the park. We have some volunteers here.
You are not getting pulled over?
No, I am not getting pulled over.
Good
I am not getting pulled over. I assure you guys of that. Lord, please. But
well, so you keep talking about how Harold's been unopposed in District 6, right? So or people who have campaigned against him haven't done so in a way that has been effective. Tiara has a pro-choice stance.
Exactly.
She has done some work with Planned Parenthood. Will that be a liability to her, given that District 6 is a very heavily Catholic Latinx neighborhood?
I don't think it's going to hurt Tiara because even though people many people are against abortion, there are many people who are not against a woman's right to choose. Especially in South Providence and even within the Latin community. And let's be real, Tiara Mack has been able to do something that many of these politicians have not been able to do, and that is engage young voters in the district. Once you start engaging young voters in the district, then you can begin changing a lot of people. I sit here and think about the people that came out. The youngest girl that was out there today was about at 18, and another young man was 16 out there standing out, passing out things, and they were enthused about working with Tiara. Anytime she sits down and meets with young people, they want to work with Tiara. They appreciate Tiara listening to their voices, and I think that is going to be key in this race. Senator Metz does not engage young voices whatsoever. And the other thing, she's gotten a lot of young people to do something that personally I really was never a fan of, and that is to make sure my voice is heard, even by providing a mail-in ballot so I can secure my vote. I think that's going to be important.
And so young voters are really going to be the key to November too, like making sure that Trump isn't reelected. If young voters can get out and vote, and we come out and actually step up, that could really be the difference in the election.
Yeah, and then with her not only with her stance with being pro-choice and the Planned Parenthood, I wondered how you would think of her, Anthony, as a business owner, with her stance on pro-business as well, but also with her stance on higher wages.
So I'll get to those points. What I would like to say is the one thing I felt lately that I'd like to see from anyone running for office is the fact that the status quo, all of the people who have been entrenched in these positions for years, simply right now during a pandemic will not represent any of our voices to the governor. There has been no oversight done. The General Assembly will not convene on this. I get it. They don't want any heat on them. But I can't get my voice, my opinion to the governor unless I get it through my elected officials. And I would tell you that there's one reason only I would vote for someone if they would say to me that the next time a situation happens where we need our General Assembly to stand up for the voices of everyone in our community to get to the governor when they have the unlimited power we have been proven to see. Now, I'm not saying anything against Governor Raimondo or her decisions on the coronavirus. I'm saying the situation within itself. The next time it could be something one of us doesn't like happening. And then we're going to be very sorry that our elected officials hid under their desks. We spent $167,000 for plexiglass for them to be able to be in that room. $167,000, but we can't get Central Falls to have laptops so they can do distance learning because they are outside of the parameters that the governor needs for them to have in-school learning. They don't have any tablets. So that kind of stuff, I'd like to hear in the general election from Tiara saying to me that the next time we're ever in a situation where we need the voices heard and the governor has one after the other of executive orders, she will be the first one to stand up to these leaders and tell them we need to convene and listen to our voices.
Yeah, that's something we need to hear. That's absolutely something we need to hear. And with
these career politicians and no term limits, and you know, people who spend 35, 40, 50 years in office. Some people like that. It just.
Tricia, if I could say to you,
I think that's.
I would tell you this. I would vote every single person right now who is already in office out on that one reason alone.
Yep.
For me personally, I ran for office. I know what these people have to go through. I understand it to some idea. I'd vote them out on that alone. You don't want to stand up for our voices. You're our only hope of getting our voices to the government.
Absolutely.
Listen, I totally agree with that statement, Anthony. That at the end of the day, it is our elected officials that down at the state house, our state representatives, as well as our state senators, that get us to our voices at down there. And Trish, you were touching upon something. These career politicians that have been in office for 20, 25, 30 years, they truly they have these positions in leadership. They have their power that they have to of influence that many of them think they have. They want to keep that cushion. They want to keep that happy. So one reason why I personally had gotten behind someone like a Tiara Mack is the simple fact that I feel as though that we need to break up that leadership. Harold Metz is in leadership down there. He sides with the president of the Senate, and quite frankly, he has sided with Gina Raimondo on many of her moves during the pandemic. So you're absolutely right. We need people that are going to speak for us during these times of uncertainty. When it comes to our jobs, when it comes to
it goes to speak to politics in general. When this election, and the way that we handle things, it definitely, you all are speaking on how politics has been affected by this. And I think that for the most part, career politicians and the people that are in power at the moment don't take that into as much account as we do. And I had a question for Abby, actually, on how you think a switch from a deeply entrenched incumbent to a progressive candidate would change the power dynamic in the state house along those lines.
The more people you get that are on the progressive slate, so we're looking at Woonsocket having a whole slate running up for city council, and in a lot of places we have a lot of progressive candidates running.
Yeah, we have the Rhode Island Political Cooperative.
Yes, exactly. And so if they're able to get enough candidates into one institution, so whether it's the State House or Woonsocket City Council or something, it just legitimizes that movement in a way, that when you have a group of people in it, even if they're not the majority, they're able to back one another's proposals. They're able to argue together to convince other people to their side. I watched that really happen in one of the towns I used to report on in Texas. They had a particular group of people all run for city council, and all but one, the person who lost had been running against a really beloved incumbent, but everybody else got in. And while they weren't the majority yet, the next election, they became the majority because you have this group who's all united for one particular cause, whether that be something you agree with or not. They're all united for one end. Yeah. And it becomes easier for voters and citizens to see what that group stands for, where I think what we could also see is if the group doesn't get major wins and gets maybe a couple wins here or there, the movement isn't dead, but it's not progressing along in a way that
the way it's expected.
Yeah, if you get one person on Woonsocket City Council, for instance, they are now like a lone wolf, kind of having to speak up for themselves alone or something, and that doesn't have the same effect as if you're able to get a larger group. And so it'll be really interesting to see how well the co-op does this year in terms of how many seats they're able to win, both at a city and state level. I'm really interested to see.
That would be extremely interesting, seriously.
Yeah, I'm curious actually to see. I know Alex Kippis, who was actually our first guest on this show, has been fighting the good fight in Woonsocket there for a while. And it's nice to see that there are some people running who are looking to back what he's been trying to do there, because I feel like he even said that he's been power blocked, for so long, while trying to get things done, and that's just not how that works. I grew up in a home where my dad was on the Newport School Committee for 14 years, and you kind of see how that all works, from bond issues to, all sorts of things, and so I got very familiar with the inner workings of how, like, town politics go. I used to work AV and, like, record the meetings.
Wow.
That's
a lot of work. But also,
But, so to see something like the Rhode Island Political Cooperative pop up and things like this are actually happening down in, like, Newport, too, where more progressive candidates are coming up and saying, no more of the status quo, no more 25 years on the city council, no more, mayor forever, like, and, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much, like, incestuousness in especially in small state politics, that everybody knows everybody and everybody's connected to everybody, and if you don't have the right connections, then, like, you can't get anything done. So it'll be nice to see the Rhode Island Political Cooperative, if that actually is able to succeed. Yeah.
So if I could chime in with that too, I agree with you on that. Until we get out career politicians, there's no chance of them passing legislation that is going to have term limits on themselves.
No,
as
and
Dee
somebody's
was
always
saying
lying in
earlier,
somebody else's pocket.
They're
not giving up the power they have. They're never going to willingly say, I've done enough, I've had my turn, it's someone else's turn. You have to get people who are running now to understand that there should be a term limit first, and the voices of all of us has to be the only gain that they ever want to get from this. That's the only gain they should want.
So speaking of voices, the co-op candidates running for Woonsocket City Council that we've been talking about, these Rhode Island co-op candidates, they are one Navy veteran, they're two single mothers, and, so they come from diverse backgrounds, which I think is important because it will bring more voices to the table, more representation. Representation, it matters. It really does. In politics, in media, in music, it doesn't matter. In the arts, representation matters. So what does that say about this progressive movement? That there is such a wide variety of people representing it.
And I think Abby touched on that a little bit earlier, too.
Anybody?
I love it. I think the more types of voices you can have at the table, the better, because that means you'll have somebody who's looking out for veterans and somebody who's looking out for single mothers, and that's why representation is really important. The more voices you can have in the decision-making room, the better.
I'm going to say I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this. I'm with all the co-ops and with all the packs and all this stuff. But to be honest with you, in the communities, especially the communities like for example, when I'm talking about Providence, South Providence, areas of Pawtucket, areas in Woonsocket, there's a huge voter suppression because they do not engage voters. When some areas are only showing less than 10% of the vote people registered to vote turning out at the polls, that is a problem, and it's nothing but voter. That means those people are not being engaged, or they feel there's no need to get up and get out and vote. There needs to be a re-education in the communities on civic engagement, and it goes all the way goes right back to education, making sure our kids understand how government works, making sure that the residents understand how government works,
Yeah.
and also the importance of something as a primary election.
Yeah.
And what
not
that
a
means,
presidential-
and that their vote matters.
Yeah.
And how their vote can change things.
Yeah.
Because as a collective of people, as a neighborhood
I'm
of
more
people,
into the
As a
co-ops
co-op.
and the packs that are doing that education. That's what I'm more into. Those co-ops and packs that are out here doing the education, informing people that there are different positions in government, such as not just your mayor or your governor, but there's a lieutenant governor, there's a secretary of state that we have to vote for. There's also our state senators, state representatives. There were many people who didn't even, that I spoke to at the doors during this election season that did not even understand that. They're like, wait, why do I have to vote this year? I just voted for mayor. They were thinking Mayor Elorza, when no, this is not a mayoral year. So that education has to happen.
Yeah, and that's what Anthony was saying a little bit about earlier too. Was you go through these channels, but then when you have to go through all these channels, it's just to get nowhere. It becomes a bigger problem, and that's where I think the progressive people that are the progressive movement during this election becomes super, super important.
I do think that is something new that I'm seeing with the more progressive younger candidates, is there's a lot more voter education happening with those campaigns, and I think that's why a lot of them are successful. Take AOC, for example. Who, like you said, and like Dee has said, engaging that young voter and engaging people who have not previously turned out. Most places don't have very good voter turnouts.
And Dee, according...
So that means there's a large percentage of people who are not, like you said, having their voices heard.
So what we're getting here, Dion, I don't know if you got...
Has it been called?
I don't know if you got this information, but according to our information, Tiara is leading right now with 65%, with 88% of votes counted. So that sounds like some news for a celebration. There's still a lot of mail-in votes to be counted, but this is a huge lead.
There's still the mail-in ballots. There's still mail-in ballots, and there's also still provisional ballots that have to be approved, as well as emergency ballots. So, I mean, we're taking this tonight. We just got done with the team. And everybody's in high spirits. Hats off to the entire team.
As you should be. She's really has a huge lead.
Y'all have worked very hard. So either way, congratulations.
I believe the numbers at the polls when they closed tonight were 790 to 547 in favor of Tiara Mack. So going into tomorrow morning, and they're saying that the mail-in ballots are not going to be counted till 12 o'clock. Be done counting to 12 o'clock. So going into tomorrow, we're going in with positive, high hopes, taking tonight as a win on the ground game and getting people to the polls. But the real finals is tomorrow, and we'll know tomorrow. We'll know tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, I think
it all sounds good to me.
So moving on from the Tiara Mack and Harold Metz, because we have a lot of other really kind of crazy races happening here right now.
There's a lot
it
of them.
would be a shame not to bring up our Mattiello and Fung race.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What do you guys think about that?
So Cranston is Rhode Island's biggest political hotbed right now.
Dee's face just now. Oh boy, that was almost as good as your Trump impersonation.
So who has some thoughts on Fung and Mattiello for Rhode Island House District 15?
Well, I'll jump in.
I don't know who wants to take this one first.
Anthony's like,
I got this.
If I can just say one thing, Dee, I got to tell you, leadership at the top needs to go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
It needs to go, in my opinion. This is the exact reason. I'm going to say to you, I called my state rep, okay? And I've sent emails to Mattiello's office, and I get the return, please call your state rep. I'm like, you're the Speaker of the House. You're the one who can convene what we need done so they can get our voices heard. My state rep talks to me, okay? These people, okay? I can't say they said these words. They are in fear of bucking this man. They are worried that no legislation in the future will get passed if they dare push against this man. No one can have that kind of power in this state over us any longer.
And you're
because
not
we
the
have
first
him
person I've heard that
controlling
from.
everything
No.
and a governor right now who is controlling everything. We may like some of their decisions, but the idea of this going forward is sickening to me as a Rhode Islander and an American. I can't believe I'm living in this kind of political climate. So just remember, everyone out there, when you're younger, the next time it's going to be something that matters to you. And just because this might not matter to you, it might be something that matters to you. No one human being, it has been proven in history, can have this kind of control over everyone's lives.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Not without devastation.
Right.
Correct.
So I mean, at the end of the day, let's be real about Mattiello. Mattiello embarrassed himself this year, especially when he said he didn't know about Rhode Island's involvement in the slave trade at all. He embarrassed himself continuously. And let's be real. What kind of leadership has Mattiello had? He has been more of a reactive instead of what we need right now with everything going on. Black Lives Matter movements. What we need right now is during the Black Lives Matters marches and movements, also with our education system being held up at the state in Providence. What we need right now is a leadership that's going to be proactive and not reactive. And I think that has been the biggest problem with Speaker of the House, Mattiello.
Okay. I absolutely. That's the problem with most candidates at this moment, actually. So I can probably agree with you there, Dee. Yeah. That's honestly the biggest problem. What do you think? What do you guys think of Maria Bucci's role supporting Thomas Slater Center, medical cannabis dispensary? I mean, I have been very well known to say I support this being like as a treatment for many different things.
We need to legalize it.
We absolutely need to legalize it. It's decriminalized here in Providence.
You want a way out of an economic depression.
Right. But do you think
you know what I mean?
that will...
There's a start.
Do you think that Maria Bucci's that'll hinder her campaign? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know about Cranston specifically, but Rhode Islanders as a whole are pretty accepting of legalizing marijuana. And I don't think right now in Rhode Island and Cranston that is going to be a huge hindrance. You can actually see the polls already. She's not really having any trouble right now.
Oh, good. We got some more news to celebrate then.
And
do you have updated numbers on that in front of you by chance?
Yeah, so the latest I see is she's got 51.8%, and then I'm not sure that's 4.2%.
4.2%?
44.2%.
Okay. You were cutting up a little bit. I was like, what?
I was like, that math doesn't add up.
4% for Adam Carbone, dressed in a hot dog costume.
I have to say that I agree with Abby on this. I don't think right now, especially, there's not an appetite for that as being the major issue going on. And I don't think there is as much as we may have thought. And remember, I'm an older guy. I will tell you my one concern when it comes to legalizing marijuana. It's not about the legalizing marijuana. I was on the Traffic Safety Coalition and Impaired Driving Task Force for 7 years. One of the issues is for business owners with liquor licenses, you have to be very careful that the law enforcement who pulls over the person who is under the influence of something, doesn't always say it's because it's easier to say that they are drunk versus under the influence of something other. Because even if a business owner with a liquor license wins that case, it costs them money. So the only thing I would ever want as we legalize marijuana is to make sure we have the proper type of ways to test to see if you are high versus drunk. That's really what's important to me as a business owner representing the voices maybe of other liquor licensees. It's hard enough to survive, and it isn't about winning it. It's about the fact you've got to spend the time and the money on it. And it's just easy to say you're drunk. So let's say you had 2 drinks and you were high, but are you more high than you are drunk? There's no test for it.
Right.
And one last thing I'd like to say about Trisha's point, which is very important. Every time we pass something that should have an economic boost to us, like gambling, okay, which is fine. Now we want to have it marijuana. It could be an economic boost. Somehow there's never enough money. We still can't get the money where it needs to go. I'm not even talking about roads, okay? And any of
roads.
Let's talk about any of the people. We can't even get the money.
About to hit a pothole right now.
Deion's literally,
right, to physically fix the schools, so they're not just.
I'm not sure.
So if
I'm not sure if you guys can see my pictures.
I believe in earmarking money and oversight to make sure it goes directly and only to the things that the people in Rhode Island have decided they're willing to vote for, something like legalize marijuana, so it has a good benefit from it.
Right. Because it could just be like, oh, we don't have enough money for this, and then it becomes inaccessible, and then it becomes a problem.
It goes to our corrupt pension system.
Question, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You're a little crackly, but
You're a little crackly, but we got you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was people excited about the campaign have been trying to call me, and so it's interrupting the call, so I couldn't see your faces. Everybody's starting to come back now. Sorry about that. But, Anthony, I think you make some strong points, especially when it comes to legalizing marijuana. But I also want to make this point. Let's still talk about when it comes to Black and brown people or people who have been arrested for having under the what is now the legalized amount of marijuana, or the decriminalized amount of marijuana, where it's justified. People who are still in jail, or people who are walking around with records with records. What are we going to do, and what are we going to do to expunge those records? And the people who have been arrested when the law was that you couldn't have under an ounce, what are we going to do about those people having jail sentences? Because a lot of times those people tend to be Black and brown people, and I would like to see if we legalize that, we take some of that money and allocate it to helping those people to reestablish themselves as individuals in society, and also work to expunge their record on that.
Yeah. And then, like Anthony said, there needs to be regulations set in point so that business owners aren't punished for it, because that's not the goal. The goal is for it to be something that boosts the economy and not to, harm certain demographics of people.
But until we get,
I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion. This is gonna be an unpopular opinion when it comes to the under the influence argument. Okay,
you saying something unpopular? Never.
Very unpopular. When are individuals going to have to take responsibility for making the decisions that they make when they are at the bar, or when they decide to smoke too much and get behind the wheel? Those individuals need to be penalized. It shouldn't always be the bar owners. It shouldn't always be the compassion centers or anything like that. That may be an unpopular opinion, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I said what I said.
It's certainly not unpopular at all with the business owners. Personal responsibility in life on many levels is never discussed. We never seem to want to have a combination of both. You have to have responsible business owners who know not to push people. There's a lot in it. You have to know not to be greedy yourself. Yeah. And then there are people who have to know their limits, and they have to take responsibility if they want to go beyond them. We don't have either one of them. But if we get back to leadership again, we want to get the money that you were talking about, Deion, that we want to earmark if we have marijuana legalized to the right things. We need new people in leadership. The people who are going to matters to revisit someone who supposedly committed a crime a year ago. It is no longer a crime today. Not a major crime. Talking about more of the ones that were basic amounts of how much marijuana you did or didn't have. We need to not stick this person with this kind of mark on them forever. If
a possession charge for carrying around a quarter ounce of weed when you can have a whole ounce.
So with that being said, guys, so we are getting a little close to closing time, unfortunately. I know. Everybody, so I want to know what you guys are going to leave our viewers with today. What do you think? What's something that the most important thing you would want to leave for the viewers today?
I'm going to start with, I just want to
start with Anthony.
I just want to start with, I'd like to apologize to everyone first if I sounded angry all the time. There is a level of frustration.
I'll
that
attest. I know Anthony, and this is how he sounds all the time.
Anthony, we know and love that this is how you are. This is what we expected.
Well, these are important issues to everyone, and this is important to me too. So sometimes not just being the jovial kind of, yeah, hey, I really am sorry if I sounded angry, but it's because I believe that the level of frustration we all have is to the point where we can no longer sit around. But I'd like to leave you with that. I'd like to leave everyone with thank you for letting me be part of this.
Of course,
it was really something I enjoyed.
Oh, well, we enjoyed having you. You said some really important things today.
I miss you. It was great to have a real conversation with you.
I know.
And then what would you like to say, Abby?
Yeah, thank you guys for inviting me and for powering through my technological difficulties.
Of course. We made it.
I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how all these races turn out. It's going to be interesting, but
do you think the reduction in polling places is going to affect these turnouts that we're looking at?
I was really I don't know, maybe impressed isn't the right word, but interested to see that over 50% of voters in a lot of areas are choosing mail-in ballots, and so I'm hopeful that will have a positive impact. I was reading some articles noting that the amount of ballots requested in places like Woonsocket for pretty the type of elections that people are not normally so invested in. Woonsocket doesn't seem to have had city council primaries today. It seems like all of their candidates are facing off in November. And despite that being their more interesting race, they have a few smaller other races going on that normally don't garner that much attention. And they still had a very impressive number of people requesting ballots. So really indicating that people are very interested and engaged right now.
It has an air of convenience to it.
Yeah, it's convenient, and people are really...
and I feel like people maybe are a little more engaged in politics and what's happening right now because everybody's quarantined at home. Yes. You got nothing better to do besides pay attention. I mean, it's really bad for anybody who's been a terrible incumbent because everybody's under a magnifying glass.
It's true. And if we want change, we're gonna have to be the ones to do it, and we're gonna have to be the ones to influence it. So we got to be informed, and that's where I'm coming from, at least, because I stay away from politics as much as I can. Believe it or not, Dee has gotten me into the political.
It's important to be involved.
Viewpoints. We have verbal sparrings. So Dee, what do you want to leave the viewers with, though? Oh, absolutely.
Apathy kills
Dee, what do you want to leave your viewers with today, since you're a guest on your own show today?
I know. Wow, this is.
Do you have a monologue?
I wonder how it happens that you're a guest on your own show.
Only Dee.
First, let me thank. I want to thank both Trisha and Taylor for stepping in today and going to punches. The entire team. They're having to make this quick adjustment. I know you all miss me. To everybody behind the scenes, mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you, darlings. I love you.
Chris just threw up a little bit.
If there's one thing I would like my viewers and all the viewers to take with you is that your voice counts, and it's important that we educate not just our children, but educate one another on the way process on civic engagement. And it just doesn't stop here on election day. Tomorrow, when you get up, look at who the new people are or the people that have won the primaries, and get to know those people, because
educate yourself.
There's a huge chance in Rhode Island they're going to be your representatives. So educate yourself on those people, get to know who they are, get their numbers, get in their ear, annoy them, because I know I do. My city councilman is tired of hearing my voice, but he's going to continue hearing my voice.
That's quite the voice.
This just in, 16,000 more people voted today here in Rhode Island than they did in the 2016 primary.
Wow, way to show out, Rhode Island. Wow, that's impressive.
So, and during a pandemic.
That's something to say.
So that's,
Wow. Well, again, thank you guys so much.
But I will say this, Trisha and Taylor.
Oh, no, stop it.
That I'm going to say this one time to you guys, that I think that you guys did a fantastic job. And I give everyone here today just a simple...
Anthony is dying. You're... Thank you so much for that, Dee. We needed that. We didn't know we needed that, but we needed that. Oh my God. Well, we had a lot of fun. We talked. We had some good times today, guys. So thank you so much again.
You can go home to your wife and tell her how sad
Seriously?
you are
Oh my
that we're here
God.
tonight.
You too. We're gonna be right back.
Just gonna go home and lay down and eat some Haagen-Dazs, and the next thing you know, I'll be on the toilet by 3:00, sending out about everybody that voted twice. Everyone voted twice.
Go to commercial.
Well, stand by. We'll be right back, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, Abby.
Thank you.
D.
And welcome back. Thanks
We're
for
back.
Doing that little commercial break with us. We still have Dee here, but a special thank you to Anthony Santuri and Abby Brennan for joining us tonight. Really good conversations about local politics and also just things happening at a national level. If you don't really know what's going on, start to get involved, especially now after the primaries. You'll have an idea of who's running in November. Do your due diligence, research your candidates, see what their past looks like if they've been in office before, look what their voting record looks like, see how consistent they are. If they've never been in office before, read what they're about. See what their message is. Listen to their interviews. Education is key when it comes to choosing people who truly represent you. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of new change out there. So, it's important. Get out there and vote.
Super important. And like we're all saying, it is one of these races that is very defining for us right now in this time period. It is saying something as a whole about politics in general, and like something that Dion said spoke out to me today. That Dee said today. Sorry, put your whole government on blast. But something that Dee said today also stood out to me. That I also think, with making sure that people are educated, especially within Black and Brown communities, on how important it is to vote and how important it is to know your candidates and how important it is to know how to make change when you want something done. And like Anthony touched on that as well, and it stands out to me to make sure that you are aware of who you can go to when you need these things, because a lot of times it seems very much like there's a wall between you and who you need to get to, and a lot of times that's the reason things don't get heard or don't get done.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot, especially with local things that could be squashed, or dealt with a lot easier if it were easily known.
Oh, absolutely. Some people you could say, who's your city council representative?
And no one knows.
There's so many people in that district or that ward or whatever that have no idea. Mm-hmm. No idea. And would have no idea how to get in touch with them or how to bring a problem to them or what type of problem they might handle or anything. They have no idea. So they just go on living their lives, and you have this annoyance over here that they don't know how to handle and don't know who to talk to. Yeah. And there's nobody reaching out and saying, "Hey, how can I help you?" Right. They're waiting for somebody to go, "Hey, I need your help." Yeah,
not sincerely at least. And then Dee's gonna close us out tonight. And what do you want to leave in our brains today?
So once again, thank you guys for stepping in and covering today. Both of you did a great job. I give you guys a B plus, only because I wasn't there. But,
you're a hardcore teacher.
I am hardcore. No, you guys did A work. I can't complain about that. But the one thing I am definitely going to say as my final thought today is that voter suppression is real, and it's real in the brown and black communities. And I think it's important that each and every person, again, becomes educated, so that way we don't have one polling place for the entire south side of Providence, or one area that of low that is considered low income. Right. Voter suppression is real. We need to fight against it through education and informing ourselves on our politicians and all that jazz. But with all that said, I want to thank you guys again tonight for watching. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Trisha. And problem. Everyone here at the Progress Report. Good night, Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.